Hello, welcome back to another edition of the I'm Always Right Sports podcast. I am your host, as always, the mouth of Michigan, Rob Mendyka. With me, as always, my co-host, the Merc Zone, Mike Merkel.
I'm here.
He's here. We got a lot of stuff to go over today. Mike, the well-man, is missing in action once again. He talked Michigan football, and he's like, all right, I'm done. He's just going to go hibernate now until then.
Yeah.
Until episode 100.
Until the 24th, where
right.
Michigan football, I think that is episode 100.
Yeah, that probably is, yeah.
And then he'll be back talking Michigan football, how they lost to Minnesota. Oh, no.
Joe Milton is... Oh, no.
Yeah, Joe Milton is amazing.
Right. Except for those 6 interceptions. It was awesome until then. We got a lot of stuff to go over this week, Mike, though. We're going to do a Clash of Champions review. We kind of chatted before the show. We got some, I wouldn't say hot takes on this show, but... we're also going to do an AEW check-in on their 1-year anniversary since AEW Dynamite has officially debuted on TNT, so we're going to do a check-in there. In part 2 of this show, we're going to be talking the NBA Finals. Lakers are up 2-0 as of this recording. Series is pretty much over in a lot of respects, and Mike is loving it, of course. And then we're also going to do a coronavirus NFL injury kind of check-in discussion. It's weird, but at the same time, I think it needs to be addressed. There's a lot of stuff going on in the NFL right now, and we're teetering on the brink right now of some major scheduling issues about to occur in the NFL. So we're gonna hit on that as well. If you're waiting for Lions talk, that is gonna be next week. I'm saying it now because I know as a Lions fan, like we want to talk about them, but it's not the right time. The way we will have to record this and everything else, we can't talk about the Saints game because you have already seen it by the time you listen to this. So we're not going to do predictions or anything like that. It's just too hard. But we're going to talk about the Lions next week. They're on a bye next week, and we're going to see where they're at the quarter-way mark. They're either going to be 2-2 or 1-3. Regardless, that conversation is going to be very different depending on where they're at with that, especially with how banged up the Saints are this week. So lots of stuff to talk about Lions next week. So if you're waiting for Lions talk, bear with us. One more week, episode 98 is coming your way. But Mike, let's jump into Clash of Champions, though. Just overall impressions of this. We talked right before we went on air. My thoughts were simply this show was a one-man card in a lot of respects, where it was literally designed just to reinforce the fact that Roman is not the same Roman Reigns as before, and to get that heel level up another notch. You know what I mean? Excuse me. That's all I got from this entire show. That was my one takeaway at the end. They put him in the main event. He basically beat the crap out of Jey Uso for 20 minutes. He's the tribal chief now, which I'm very interested to see that merch. I liked the thing that the conversation he had with Paul. Paul's like, "You're my tribal chief," and Roman goes, "I don't care if you say it," which I thought was really, really good. Give me your overall thoughts just on the show before we go match by match here and just kind of break them down real fast.
Yeah, I thought it was a solid show. I think it opened great, it ended great, and then everything in between was meh.
Yeah,
and that's where it was. I think the world title, the WWE title match, I guess you could say, under-delivered.
It was biggest letdown of the match of the night for me, for sure.
And then the rest of the other 3 matches, I didn't expect anything of. Right. So I guess they were fine being matches that had no expectation.
They did have to move some pieces around, right? We didn't see the women's tag title match because of some COVID issues, and we had to call a match on the fly for the SmackDown Women's title with Asuka basically challenging again, which I felt was kind of like, all right, Asuka's here, she's fine. We're going to do a smudge finish anyway, whatever. And I guess it doesn't really matter in the long term because they're going to go Bayley and Sasha anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But, I agree with your assessment, though, pretty much 100%, right? Ladder match started out, went really well, right? I'm glad Sami Zayn got the win there. And it ended strong. But everything else in the middle... let's just start with that ladder match first, right? I would not put this ladder match in my top 5 ladder matches by any means. I thought it was unique the way they did it. They tried to. It's hard without a real crowd there to get the anticipation for the high spots and stuff. I thought it was well done. I thought everybody was okay. I thought it was creative how they. Because Sammy's the least, I guess, physically gifted. I guess is the best way of putting that between the 3 of them. With the handcuffs and everything, I thought it was a unique finish considering, and I'm glad he got the win. That's the big thing.
Yeah, I think I would describe the match as unique all around, where they did try a lot of new spots, and they did a lot of unique finishes and stuff for it. But yeah, I wouldn't put it in my top 5 or anything. I mean, I don't have like a definitive like, oh, you're
no,
top
yeah,
5.
no, right.
But it's definitely
but like you're not going to talk to like, oh, this is a level of like TLC 1 or something. Yeah. You're like, it's not.
It's not.
Yeah, right.
Sure. It was just very solid for what it was.
For sure.
And I agree, Sami Zayn definitely should have won and won. So
yeah.
I'm with you on that.
I'm liking it. All right, what's the next match on the card?
So we had Asuka defeating Zelina Vega by submission in 7 minutes and 5 seconds.
I think they're just kind of waiting for someone else to be like ready for Asuka at this point. I know that's a funny thing because I like that's her tagline, but at the same time, like there's nobody. I mean, I'm glad Zelina Vega's getting a chance to wrestle and stuff, and they're trying some other people out, but it's like we're just kind of. I think they're waiting for this draft here coming up here in the next couple weeks here. And we're gonna talk about that next week as well. Just kind of some of that fallout. But I think they're just kind of spinning their wheels a little bit for this next. I think Hell in a Cell is going to drag.
Is the draft going to be a reset of everybody, or is it just like the same roster with like a couple shifts?
I think it's a couple shifts. I think it's like everyone's already on Raw and SmackDown and NXT. All right, first pick goes to Raw. Raw's going to take Adam Cole. Boom. Yeah. And then NXT takes blah blah blah.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it's more like that. I haven't done enough research on it. The draft for me. I've gotten really excited for drafts in the past, and it's been a complete letdown. And then I've been pleasantly surprised. So I'm trying to like go with like the reserve.
Because like in 2016, the draft was like drafting rosters. Yeah. And then they always did like a superstar shakeup. Yes. They never called it a draft again. Right. It was always just like a shakeup.
Well, but remember like in like 2007, 2008, 2009, where it was like the person wins a match, and it was like Triple H is going to SmackDown. He's the WWE champion. So like that kind. I think it's gonna be more like that than it is like all right, everyone goes to a big cluster, and now we're going to start picking people and everything. Because I don't think they're going to completely upheave NXT, you know what I mean?
Yeah, hopefully not.
Right.
Bobby Lashley beat Apollo Crews by submission in 8 minutes.
Next.
Okay, next.
We've seen it 12 times. Like, come on.
You had the Street Profits beat Andrade and Angel Garza in 8 minutes and 15 seconds also.
This was a disaster because Angel Garza blew out his knee, or they thought he did. So there was a rushed finish on this. I read after the fact that there still was no scheduled tag title change occurring. So if that's the case, I don't understand. Like, the problem with this card is that there was a lot of matches where you can't have a Clash of Champions and have half your champions not in a feud of some sort. Like, Apollo Crews versus Lashley is like, all right, we've seen this now 4 times. You know, who's going to face now? Cedric Alexander? Like, who's going to face Ricochet? Like, it's the same 6 guys fighting each other. This match, again, how many times have Andrade and Angel Garza lost the tag titles against Street Profits? I can count at least twice on pay-per-view that it's happened, not including WrestleMania where it was supposed to be those 2. Mm-hmm. So you're just like, what the hell's the point? You know what I mean? I don't know. I just didn't... No. Stupid.
Drew McIntyre beat Randy Orton in an ambulance match. And that was a match.
This is the one match where like if I'm gonna get like upset, it's this match. Oh because this match did nothing for Drew McIntyre at all. Like 0. You got 12 guys interfering on his behalf, and yet he still almost loses. Like how is that a thing, right? Like it just didn't make. I understand why they did it with everybody coming back. I understand, but like this should have been like 6 months down the road or whatever, where Orton's already been champion, and as he's been champion, he's beat the crap out of these people, and then they're the reason why he loses the title, and then we go off. But instead, he's not the champion. He's now lost on 3 or 4 straight pay-per-views. So your biggest heel, I mean, I guess he's technically still your biggest heel, but like he's not. There's no momentum there anymore. I'm guessing they're going to try this again at Hell in a Cell, and I'm guessing this is where Orton takes it. I guess, but I don't know. Like this was the one match for me where I go. It's not good. It's not good. And it didn't help Drew at all. It didn't help Orton in any stretch of the imagination. Like, I honestly still thought Drew was going to lose. Mm-hmm. And I was like, so you're going to have Orton get attacked by like 4 guys, and yet he's still going to beat the WWE champion? Wow, your WWE champion sucks then. Mm-hmm. You know, like, it was bad. There's nothing good about this match, quite frankly. It could have been great, but it was not.
Also, I don't think there's a single ambulance match that I really enjoyed.
No.
Like, ambulance match to me just never does it for me.
No, it's...
In any sense of form with anybody, it's never worked.
It's always... you can tell that when they go with a stipulation like that, it's because they don't want someone to take the pinfall, right? It's okay, well, Orton's not going to take the fall. Yeah. Okay, he gets thrown to an end, but he didn't get, like, beat.
Yeah.
I guess. You know what I mean?
Because all you have to do is close the door.
Drew still won, but he didn't beat him? I don't... You know, it's like a weird, like... wrestling logic, I guess, is the best way of putting it. But this match was definitely a letdown in a lot of respects. You know, this match we talked about, we're like, it could have been great if it was physical, had some good, you know, like just a good brawl type of match. But at the end, you just throw somebody in the ambulance. I feel like that would have went a lot further. But instead, they had to, you know, all right, Christian's beating him up, okay. But now we got Shawn Michaels coming in there. Now we got Big Show. All right, Ric Flair's driving and all that other stuff. I'm like, there's just so many things where they tried to input old stars for a match that shouldn't have needed it. You know, they should have just let the two guys go at it, and this should have been a blow-off, because an ambulance match for me means you're so beat up, you're sent home in an ambulance, you should be off TV for a while. Not, he's back next week attacking a whole bunch of old dudes. I just, it's disappointing, to say the least.
Yeah, I agree. Roman Reigns beats Jey Uso by technical knockout in 23 minutes.
This was good. Thought it could have been better. They went the more artistic route with this match rather than like a up and down, like, oh geez, like took me on a roller coaster type of match, which I thought they could have done. But I thought it was good. Once again, it's all about establishing Roman as this badass, like, I'm just gonna, you know, like, hey, we're family, but at the same time, you're not gonna come near me.
I actually like the route they went, because normally I like the whole like back and forth, like
take me on a roller coaster and then at the end, okay, we're good.
But since you don't have the crowd there, I think the fact that you can amp up their voice, and so like there's no dialogue, you can listen to the dialogue actually, and like not have like fans screaming over everything. I think it really helps with that style match with no fans or the virtual fans or whatever. That's why I actually rather them went this route than because if you go back and forth and Jay's about to take the title and it's two counts,
it's like 1, 2, it's like, oh wait, no one cares.
Yeah, but no one cares because no one's really there, so you're not seeing anybody react to it.
For
sure. I actually like the route they went with it, and great that Reigns won.
Yeah, no, I mean obviously there's no reason ever to take the title off him for the next several months. But the point is that this is, I mean, they are just building Roman as like this monster heel, right? Where and they're doing it in a way where it's like, you know where they're going, but they're doing it in such a subtle, like, all right, I'm going to move this one piece, and we're going to leave it for a while. Now I'm going to move another piece, and we're going to, you know, it's like, it's just slowly but surely. It's like, okay, he's back and he attacked everybody. Okay, well, Roman did that before, but now he comes back. Oh, now he's got Paul Heyman. Oh, what does that mean? But Paul Heyman's not my manager, though. I'm hiring him. He works for me, not the other way around. Okay. Now I'm going to win the title in a weird way where I'm going to, like, skimp out on most of the match. That's pretty heel-like. But at the same time, I'm best friends still with my family. But now I'm going to also beat the living dog crap on. Like, so there's a lot of stuff there. I would honestly be looking forward to, in a couple months from now, once the other Uso brothers back in January, for them all to be, like, kind of a little stable. I think that'd be badass because the Usos are a great tag team. I really like this. I thought, once again, SmackDown is contingent strictly right now upon Roman Reigns and what he's doing, and right now they're the more entertaining show for me. Because
SmackDown is leaps and bounds better, and even it adds that every other championship is more significant than its counterpart on Raw.
Yeah, like, even the SmackDown tag titles that were on the pre-show, I would rather watch Cesaro and Shinsuke face Name a Team over Street Profits beating Andrade and Angel Garza for the 12th time.
Yeah. So I think everything about SmackDown works. Honestly, I would love it. Wait, I gotta think if I'm gonna really love it or not. If they went back to SmackDown and Raw exclusive pay-per-views, because I would love SmackDown exclusive pay-per-views right now. And Raw ones, I'd be like,
the Raw ones would be like,
really rough. But the SmackDown ones would be back like in 2016 when they first split, when all the SmackDown ones were like, oh man,
this is really good. Plus, you saw really elevation of talent, right? And you know. That's why I'm hoping this draft is going to do something, because like you need some infusion of talent.
They need to throw some guys on Raw.
Yeah, they do, because they have no main event talent on Raw right now. Like, no offense, but the Keith Lee experiment's not working, and Retribution's already dog crap. I wouldn't be surprised to see like that T-Bar guy. I'm just going to call him Dijakovic because that's who he is. Like, win the U.S. title because they're kind of feuding with the Hurt Business, like something like that. You know. You might as well throw the United States Championship in the trash. It doesn't mean a damn thing, but it's whatever.
It looks cool.
Yeah, it looks nice. It looks great. It's a great design. Overall grade on the show.
I will give it a C.
A C?
Yeah. Only because, like, strictly because I think the opening and main event matches were like
the bread was
really
good,
solid.
The middle was gross.
Exactly. Yeah. And normally, at least for the WWE shows, normally it's like, oh, that one match was like good, and everything else was like. This one gave me 2 really solid matches that I would actually think like go back. Like I would watch the main event again.
Yeah.
Like legitimately, I'd be like, yeah, let's go watch this one.
Yeah,
again.
you could see this match as part of a chronicle for them to be like, this is the whole transformation of Roman Reigns.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and you can really feel that tension.
Yeah, so I'd give it like a C.
Yeah, I'm probably right there with you. Like I said, the middle of the card, it kind of got jumbled up, so they kind of had to make do with what they did. But Raw is so struggling for talent right now on any real stretch of the imagination that SmackDown's matches are blowing them out of the water pretty much consistently. I mean, no offense, but Bobby Lashley and Apollo Crews for the U.S. title, or do I want Sami Zayn, AJ Styles, and Jeff Hardy?
Exactly.
That's not even close, like from that regard.
Right now, it's Roman Reigns versus.
It doesn't even matter.
It doesn't even matter because he's so much.
Right,
such
exactly, because it's Roman. It's Roman against a paper bag, and I'm like, oh, what's he going to do with that paper bag? It's just, it is what it is. They're doing a really nice job with Roman. So yeah, I'll give it a C, for sure. I think that's a fair assessment of it. It was nothing special. You may not remember it, but you'll remember it in the sense of this is a part of the Roman Reigns turn. All right, let's check in with AEW here. They're on their 1-year anniversary since debuting on TNT. We got Jericho's 30th wrestling anniversary 2 coming up, which is weird, and he's going to be in some weird tag match against the guy he really likes, that Dr. Luther guy. Because why not, right? But AEW first year on a major network. It's the first time we've really seen this in this light since WCW. I know TNA had Spike, but they weren't head to head or anything. Just give me your overall your impressions. I mean, are you content with where they're going, considering where they started to where they're at now? It's kind of become part of our weekly routine now. That's like, oh, by the way, there's AEW now, and all that good stuff. I mean, have you been impressed? Considering because you got to throw in the COVID stuff too. That hurts. That half the year has been without fans. But are you impressed? Do you want more? What are you looking forward to? Just give me your overall thoughts on AEW.
Yeah, right now. I thought it's been great for just about all of it. I think this last little bit, obviously with no fans, I think it's been really killing. But I think around the time of Revolution, I don't think they could have been any hotter. Everything they were really doing around that time frame for 2 months was insanity and so much better than what everything else was doing. And just everything from every single week, all the champions just adding new titles into the mix, having these feuds just kind of come in fluently, because they're all in faction. So it's you can have the Bullet, or not the Bullet Club, the Elite or whatever, taking on whoever, the Best Friends or something. But then one guy interferes, and then you can shift the Best Friends over here, and you can move this to the Inner Circle, and everything just rides fluently. Nothing feels really forced. Oh, we need this guy to do this thing. And I think right when it got to the COVID era, I was it's getting a little stale. Then Cody comes out with a new championship, and then you have a title defense every week, and it just spikes it right back up. So I think they've been doing great. For sure. All around, it's been a lot of fun.
Do you think that they're going to run into some issues because, like you said, they've had a lot of new, just based off the fact that they are brand new, right? So you're looking at it and you say, okay, we've established our world championship. All right, now we bring the TNT title in. All right, we brought in a lot of big names from WWE, right? There's not many left to really bring in at this point.
Not really.
So it's okay. Are you concerned at all that maybe that now that there's not the element of what's going to happen next, who's going to jump, or what are they going to do to introduce something new, that at this point they're going to just become like every other wrestling company where it's just all right, we're just going to roll now, and there's nothing to be oh crap, they did what, you know what I mean? Before, when it first debuted, it was super hot. They were clicking on all cylinders. Jericho had never been better. We were really rolling, right? And as we got to Revolution, we were going really well. Moxley's on top of the world. And then I feel we've been on lists like this, and then it's oh, we're back up for a second, and now we're okay, but I wouldn't say we're doing anything groundbreaking at the moment.
I agree, but I don't think there's ever been there's no company or no one ever that could just be oh, we're just breaking ground every single week for 5 years. I mean, outside of the Attitude Era, probably, and even then there was a lot of stuff that wasn't very good with the stuff that was really, really good in there. There's never been a time when it's just always just. I think honestly, from the time of in early January to April, it was always
it was
just going up. It was a lot of good stuff from there.
Really,
and I think that's one of the longest stretches even from WWE recently of like 4 solid months of a show
right.
that you've really gotten outside maybe NXT stuff. But even
right.
NXT TV hasn't really been that great. It's always been the takeovers.
Right.
So
right.
I think AEW can have those moments, especially when they're starting to have fans come back a little bit.
Yep.
So once the fans start coming back and they're able to come back in full capacity, it'll be
better.
1, so much better, and 2, I think they are able to keep their momentum going from last March or April, whenever the COVID outbreak really started.
For sure. Is there one thing that you want to see an improvement on? Because for me, I want to see their pay-per-views mean more. In my opinion, like I still stand by the argument that Revolution was the best pay-per-view they've had.
Yeah.
And
it's not even close.
It's really not. And so like for me, like this last show, All Out, it did not feel like their WrestleMania. I guess you know what I mean. Like for me, if you're only gonna have 4 or 5 pay-per-views a year, those need to mean something, and stuff needs to actually happen. We need to have progression in our storylines. Now, I'm going to give them a little pass this year because, A, year 1, 2, who can predict what happened outside of their control? But, like, All Out for me was a really big disappointment on a lot of aspects. Not because the guy didn't want win to win, like that kind of stuff, but, like, from a story perspective, I'm like, we weren't progressing in a lot of stuff. The only thing that really happened was the Adam Page Kenny thing. So it's like, for me, I just want them to take their pay-per-view, and I guess that they are, but like, I want to feel like, all right, if I'm investing the $50-$60 to watch this show, then I want stuff to matter, and I want things that they're going to do. I don't want to be able to see, Kenny and Hangman versus Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy, and then 2 weeks on AEW, then also see that same match, and it's like, okay, well, then why did I pay for that pay-per-view?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just want their pay-per-views to feel a little bit more important because you've only got 4 or 5. If they were WWE, I get it, because you've got so much stuff you need to fill in. A lot of pay-per-views are going to wind up being garbage. But in their case, you've only got a couple, so they better be freaking good if I'm paying for it. I don't know if you've got anything else for them to maybe not necessarily improve upon, or something that you want to see moving forward for them, but that's my big one for me is that.
Yeah, that would probably be mine. I'm trying to think of anything. I guess I would love to see more of like the mid-carders. Kind of, I feel like there's only a few, and you can only have so many people like challenge it. That's really that's really what Dark is for, to kind of rise people up and then kind of move over to TV. Like Scorpio Sky won like 6 straight on Dark, and now he's like and then challenges for the TNT title because he won 6 in a row there, so then he comes back on TV or whatever.
Right.
But I would like to see more of like the Matt Cardonas or something, like kind of start getting some wins somewhere, and then like start rising up the ranks a little bit. I love the ranking system.
I wish they played more into that, quite frankly. Like, they're like, oh, they've been the number 2 team for 6 weeks. I go, yeah, but they haven't had a title shot yet.
I wish
people jumping them.
I wish it was more like UFC would do, where it's like where when they came out, they were like, this is the number 1 ranked tag team in the world versus the champion or whatever. So you at least know it's like, okay, this is your best. They have some credibility
going into this match. Like, I don't like the fact that, like, you've got the number 1, number 2, now you have the number 5 team getting a tag title shot just because they're getting a tag title shot. I go, why? Then what is the point of me being 1, 2, 3, or 4 if you're going to give the 5th team a shot?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind that, because it happens in UFC where like the 3rd or 4th person will get the title shot, but I at least want them to be like, they're getting a title shot because they're the 4th rank, not because
or because of X, like they have a big win over the champion in a tag match. Something to give me a reason. Yeah, I would agree with that as well. So, like I said, it's been fun. I'm really excited to see what the future holds. This is the first time we've seen something like this in a long time, where there's a lot of money backing a wrestling promotion, not with the letters WWE. So that it's fun. It's going to be exciting. They just need to keep up the momentum. They really need to start home growing some people, or the guys that they do have from WWE. You need to lose that identity as a WWE guy, and they really need to start becoming AEW guys. Because right now, I still feel like a little bit they're reliant upon what those guys did in previous promotions. I mean, you look at their champions right now, every single champion they've had is a WWE guy. So it's kind of one of those things where you just go, oh boy, it's difficult to, be like, okay, well, yeah, that's the Revival. All right, yeah, that's, Luke Harper. All right, that's Dean Ambrose. It's one of those things where there no longer need to be Dean Ambrose from WWE. It needs to be John Moxley of AEW. So that's the one other thing I would say. But year 1, I would say, considering what they could have been, and what we've tried to see other companies attempt to do, they're off onto a pretty good foot starting off year one. That's gonna be it for part 1 of this episode. In part 2 of this week's show, we're gonna be talking NBA Finals. Mike's got a lot of comments on that, and we're also gonna be checking in on the NFL and this whole coronavirus pandemic. All that good stuff after the break. Stick around. Hey guys, it's the Mouth of Michigan, Rob Mendyka here once again, just reminding you that episode 100 is right around the corner, and I just want to take a special moment out of this week's episode just to say thank you once again for all of the support that you guys have given us through the first 97 episodes of the I'm Always Right Sports podcast. We could not have done it without you. The outpouring of support, everyone sharing and liking our stuff, that's what it's really all about for us. So once again, we really appreciate it, and we hope to continue to bring great content to you every single week. Now here's part 2 of this week's episode. And welcome back to part 2 the I'm Always Right Sports podcast, episode 97. In the books here, Mike. Let's just jump right in here, though, to the NBA Finals action. Your Los Angeles Lakers are up 2-0 on your Miami Heatos, and this has been a bit of a disaster because, it hasn't even really been competitive for these two games, quite frankly. It's been a bit of a letdown. I'm not gonna lie, I've been a little disappointed in it. I know you're loving it and everything, but like from a guy who doesn't have a dog in the hunt, it's hard, to be like, all right, it's 2-0. It's pretty much over already at this point. I mean, give me your thoughts. What are your takeaways from this? Like, is it just like, okay, Lakers are awesome? Like, is that it? Like,
well, yes. They are the best team in basketball.
Yeah.
I guess it's unfortunate for some people that don't like the Lakers.
It's not they don't like the Lakers, but like I'm just kind of like this is like it's not. I want the finals to be close. Like
I know. I absolutely. I honestly wish, and I talked to you about this earlier. Yeah. I wish the Lakers would have played the Clippers. I wish they would have played at least Miami, who I thought was going to be way more competitive, or like the Bucks or something, who maybe would have been more competitive. Like I wanted more competitive games. I thought at the end the Lakers would beat anybody and get the title win, but I was like, I do want these to be more competitive because it is more like I'm just saying because I want a close game too. I'm sitting there going as much as I want a 30-point blowout and the Lakers just to win in 4 and win. As a fan, I'm like, I want these series to be close too because they're boring to watch.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we always have the argument, like if the Lions made the Super Bowl, would we want a blowout or a close win or whatever?
It's tough because
a blowout would be awesome to watch, but to go back to watch it, it'd be like it's boring. Like for me, I'm a big Seattle fan. Going back to watch that Super Bowl where they win like 43-8 against Broncos, I'm like it's just so boring because after like a quarter, it's like the game's over.
It's so hard to watch.
So I just kind of look at this series. I'm like, I wish I would have got that 7-game series against the Clippers because it would be nice if they went to Game 7.
Right.
And it's like
big game,
close game or something. It would have been so much more fun. Like, but this series is just kind of like
we haven't. That is the one thing. Nothing to take away from Denver and like Utah in that series and what have you. But we haven't had a series go 7 that meant like, oh man, like this is gonna like change some stuff up. Like no offense to Denver and Utah, I mean, I get that Denver beat the Clippers, but that's I think more problem with the Clippers than it is what Denver did. But point being is like we didn't get that like it's nut cutting time kind of moment. You know what I mean? Like we didn't see that in the Miami Bucks series. We didn't see that Miami and the Celtics. I mean, we got it a little bit the Celtics and Toronto, but Toronto had to win 4 straight basically to get there. So you're just like, I mean, it was an insurmountable amount to get there. So it's like I feel like as good as these games have been at times, at other times I'm just like, where's my like I don't get that butterfly feeling where I'm like, oh man, like this is intense, like holy crap, like this is like even in Game 6, like to feel big, where you're like, all right, man, Game 6, oh boy, here we go.
I would say the only series that I felt that was the Toronto Boston semifinal series when it went to like double overtime and Toronto was like fighting for their life. That game for me, I was like, and I'm not. I don't care about either team. I thought either one would lose.
It was just good basketball. It was good,
but it was just a really solid like series, and it was both teams that really wanted to win. And you could see Toronto just wanted that game a little bit more because of how hard they were fighting to get to Game 7. That was the only game in this entire playoff stretch. Because I would say even I guess the Nuggets coming back too, where they just wouldn't give up against their two teams, but the Clippers also just kind of just like gave up in those last 3 games.
Disaster.
So
if you want to hear our rant on that, go back like 3
weeks, and you'll hear Rob just complain all about that. But I think you kind of just look at this series and like after watching every single round of the playoffs. I think it just was like, Lakers are just
good. They're the best team. We got it.
The best team. Yeah.
Just give it to them already. Be done with it. Yeah, for sure. And that's the thing too, is that you look at it and it's unfair in a lot of regards to this Heat team in the sense of like, Tristan Thompson made a comment which I thought was a little bit derogatory. It was like, it's like JV versus varsity.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, first off, a couple things. Number one, check your own resume here for a second here, because like, where do you play? You play in Cleveland without LeBron, which means you're total garbage.
Yeah.
Number two,
and he was also very inefficient when he was with LeBron.
No kidding. Yeah. But it's for another day. But at the same time, I do feel for the Heat because in a lot of regards you go, yeah, we played complete team basketball for 3 rounds, right? Like we don't have one guy that is like stands out above. I mean, I know Jimmy Butler's very, very good, but like he's not a top 3 player in the league. He's just not. It's just what it is. But we played complementary team basketball and played and won with defense and swarm people, right? And it's like, and now you go up against this buzzsaw of a team and you're like, we're trying to do that, but it's just like our team basketball is still not enough for just the fact that they have more. They got more. They got more stars. They got the player. Their stars compared to our stars just aren't the same. Even if Bam was healthy and he's canceling out Anthony Davis, all right, great, but no one's matching LeBron's output. And even if Jimmy Butler matches LeBron's output, then you have to rely upon everybody else to match. It's just one thing after another. I mean, when you got LeBron and AD combining for like 66 points in Game 2, you're just like, damn. It's just like, wow.
Yeah, and the problem that they're having is they're trying to use a zone that they use against one-star teams.
It's not working.
And it doesn't work when, one, LeBron's the best passer in basketball, and reads defenses better than maybe anyone in basketball history. Right. Like, he just sits in the post and just looks around and just holds the ball and just goes, wide open. Right. The guy's always wide open. For some reason, the guy's always wide open. Mm-hmm. And so he breaks apart people's defenses, and then when there's 3 seconds left on the shot clock, they go, hey, AD, turn around three-pointer makes it, or something. Or
and that's something you can't defend. It's just what you do.
Yeah, you just can't do anything. You get the best defense in the world, and if you just give it to AD and he makes it.
And their offensive efficiency hasn't been there either. Like, when they played the Bucks and they played the Celtics, it felt at times where, like, Miami was scoring at will. Like, Goran Dragic off the dribble was playing phenomenal. Tyler Hero was playing great. Jay Crowder's hitting clutch threes when it needs it, right? Jimmy Butler doing just enough offensively to be like, like, I'm here still, but...
Duncan Robinson's been awful.
Duncan Robinson's terrible. And he's a liability on defense. So if you're negative offensive efficiency and you don't play defense already, that you're a complete liability.
LeBron's taking advantage of that because in Cleveland in his last year with Kyle Korver, they would throw Kyle Korver to make threes, but then they were playing Golden State, and Kyle Korver can't guard a single soul in Golden State. So he was like, do I want Korver to make threes? But then when Korver's missing 0 for 5, you're like, you have to sit down. You cannot be out here if you're going to miss everything. And Duncan Robinson...
You cannot be out here.
if you're missing everything. And Duncan Robinson's out here going 0 for 7, but they just don't have another guy that can just come in for him. So it's like, he has to be out there, but it's like, LeBron's just like,
because Iguodala's been terrible too. Yeah. So like, it's just been not... It's a tough draw. And honestly...
It is.
Miami playing almost any other team in the West, I'd be like, this would be a 1-1 series, kind of thing. But right now, they're just... The Lakers, for as much flack as a lot of people gave them for playing not very well at the beginning of this bubble, they've only gotten progressively better as each series has gone on. It's not like they were like okay against, they've been okay, and all of a sudden, like, where did this come from? No, it's been, they were good against Portland, they went out and then they beat the living dog crap out of Houston, and then they went and beat the crap out of Denver, and it's just one of those things where you go, they just progressively got more and more efficient, and you're going to see it now where it's like, Miami's just the team, unfortunately, who's on the receiving end of this.
Of the peak of the team.
Oh, yeah, and right. They've never played better. This entire season, I'll even go back to when this regular season was going on, they've never played better. No. Their role players have never played better.
And all the people that have messaged me on Twitter that was like, why doesn't LeBron just take it to the hoop every single... I think I've said it like the last 3 weeks or whatever we talked about this, but everyone that was like, LeBron is playing Portland, just take it to the hole every single week. And to me, I answer that by saying, look what he's doing right now in the finals, where Danny Green, Kuzma, Markieff Morris, Alex Caruso, they're all hot. They're all making all their threes, and it's because he just kept throwing it to them. KCP is making
because when you're playing a okay Portland team, you have the flexibility to go and say, I don't need to put up 40 tonight because I need everyone else to start getting into rhythm. Because when it doesn't matter, and I maybe can't put up 40 because I'm getting double teamed, That's when you need to make your shots.
Yes.
It's not now, but later.
Yeah, so people that were questioning that, I was like, if you're looking at the result now, they're about to possibly sweep, maybe in 5 games beat Miami, and I go, that's why.
Right.
It's because of the stuff in Portland.
Talking about Miami real fast here before we move on. The Lakers, obviously, they're going to be in the hunt next year. I don't necessarily know if they're going to be able to play as well as they're playing right now. Like, they're playing out of their minds. I don't know if this is necessarily replicatable, I guess the best word to say it.
I would say it's hard because you're getting Golden State back.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors, right? But I want to talk about Miami, though, in the sense of, do you think Miami can make another run here? Because they're pretty young, considering, right? I'm looking at, I almost feel like it's a Magic run, but the way they did it is you can do that again. You can replicate good defense. You can replicate some of the things that they do very, very well. You can replicate good coaching. Now, some of, Tyler Hero going for 50, all right, maybe you can't count on that, right? But the way they beat the Bucks was not because they shot the lights out. They beat the Bucks because they played really, really good defense.
I will answer that when it comes around next year, because if you're going to have fans back for the playoffs, I don't think so.
Really? Okay.
But if it's like a bubble setting again for some reason, nothing's better and they're in a bubble, I think yes.
Why do you say if there's fans it makes a difference?
Because I think this team is very young, and when you have Tyler Hero playing,
you think the emotions get
to you, and a more experienced, like say the Bucks team, right? I think the Bucks with a home crowd and everything, like everyone cheering against a 20-year-old kid, I think would have got to him, and he wouldn't have played as efficiently as say the guy like the 32-year-old George Hill who has experience in the finals, who was playing in the first round against the Heat or whatever. I think he would produce way better.
Okay.
So I think if there are fans, I think the younger Heat core will be a little maybe not bad, but they won't be nearly as good as what they are right now.
Okay, all right, yeah. I'm very interested to see how this team develops because I like Eric Spoelstra. Jimmy Butler's that silent leader type guy. I like that.
And this is the weird year because they didn't play with fans. So next year will be everyone's first year with fans if they do make the playoffs and go far again.
Correct.
So it's almost like they're all rookies at it again.
Yeah, it's it's a totally different framework.
Yeah, so it's going to be hey, instead of playing with no fans, how about 30,000 people screaming about how much they hate you every single game? And
I get that.
Try to deal with that. Yeah. So
very interesting for sure. If somehow we come back, if we come back on the air next week, is there any chance that the finals is still going on technically? It's got to go at least 6. What? 6?
No,
right?
because they played today for Game 3.
Yeah.
Tuesday's Game 4. Friday's Game 5. So Sunday's Game 6.
Yeah.
So if they end it in 5, it will be over by next Sunday.
No, I'm saying if the Heat, there is a technical possibility though that we could be talking about. Oh, well, we're going into Game 6, Game 7.
Yeah, if it goes into Game 6, we will be talking about it on Sunday.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Because the finals is next Tuesday.
Right. Like the last one.
9 days.
For sure. Obviously, too. I know some people have been asking about Pistons draft talk. We're not going to get. We don't do as much in-depth coverage on the NBA draft as we do the NFL. I've made the comment before. It's because, quite frankly, most of the time, if you're not picking in the top 3, the rookie you're taking isn't going to be as impactful. So, where in the NFL, as you can see now, it doesn't matter if you picked first or 32nd, like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he's probably the best rookie playing so far, and it's just different in the NFL, okay? And quite frankly, NFL's king in this household. So it just is what it is, unfortunately. But we will be talking Pistons draft talk after the finals are over as we get a little bit closer to the draft, some possible candidates and good stuff like that. So be on the lookout for that good stuff. All right, last topic of the day this week, guys. Let's talk NFL and this COVID thing. We got the report a couple days ago that, all right, some Tennessee guys, there's a few COVID positive tests. All right, so now they're not allowed in the building right now, and then they can test again. Now there's a couple more people in Tennessee. Minnesota's tested. I don't think anybody from the Vikings has anything, right? Am I correct on that?
Sure.
So they had the contact with it, but they're still doing rigorous testing. There was a scare for the Saints-Lions game that you're going to have already watched by the time you hear this, but Michael Burton, former Lion, now the Saints fullback, he had a false positive, thankfully. That's why the Lions and the Saints will be able to play today. But and we've seen Cam Newton. He tested positive, so he's going to be out against the Chiefs of all people. Man, talk about Jared Stidham time. Good Lord. So they're having to flex out that game to possibly Monday night. They've got a delay now with the Steelers and Tennessee now because of that. So now the Steelers are going to play 13 straight games because of this. And it's going to be a whole thing because they're on their bye now because Tennessee can't play. And this is going to, if this continues, we could definitely see a snowball effect with this where you're like, this could be a scheduling nightmare. The NFL is already talking about adding a week 18 just in case. Give me your thoughts on what's happening here. Like, are you concerned that all of a sudden we're going to like come to a screeching halt because like half of Tennessee is out, or the Lions are missing Stafford, Galladay, Adrian Peterson, and Okudah. Like whatever the case may be, where they're already trying to put restrictions on the bye, where you can't leave for the bye anymore. You can't go vacation for a week. You can't do that. So you got to stay in your general area. You still got to get tested and all that stuff. But like, it doesn't seem they're doing a good job, and I don't know if they can do anything else. But it's starting to become a little concerning that this is starting to pop up.
I'm not too concerned. I think the NFL's done as good as they can.
Yeah, without a bubble.
Without a bubble. They can't do a bubble. Yeah. There's too many people to do a bubble. So they're doing
7,000 people in a bubble.
way more than that. I know. But it would be like 40,000 people in a bubble.
Right.
But they're doing the best they can. And I think honestly, like it's only like when you watch baseball. First started, baseball had like 7 teams after like 3 days that had it. Like football, we've had 4 weeks, and it's only been 1 team, and it's only been like 4 players, and another team had like 1 or 2
stragglers.
So I don't think it's too big of an issue right now. I don't think it will become too big of an issue. I think with the NFL's way of like they don't play every single day, they play in the week, so if they can test it and get it early, then they can just get that player out, and then you kind of like roll with everything else that you have. Instead of playing every day where it's like, if you play 3 days and you can come in contact with 3 different people, then you test, you're like, oh, you have it, so now the whole team's going to have it.
Well, the problem is, too, is that sometimes with this virus, right, it's even the 24-hour test, it takes a couple days to manifest itself. So you could have it and be talking to somebody, and you don't even realize you have it, and 3 days later, oh, shit, I have it. And now it's like, oh, man, now you have to retrace where everyone's going. And they're doing a nice job of tracking people and seeing, all right, who are you with, and that kind of stuff. But because, like, the Saints, I know, were concerned because if Burton had it, oh man, he sat next to Kamara on the plane, and you're like, oh crap, and so now like and it becomes a snowball effect where like tennis, like I honestly thought for a minute there they were thinking about not flexing out the Steelers Tennessee game, and I'm like, so you're just gonna have Tennessee go into a game with no practice? Like, all right, we'll have virtual meetings, but no, because they were not allowed in the building, so you can't, so no practice. All right, so here's what they're going to do. We can't put this into effect because we can't walk through it, but here you go. I'm like, that is a sketchy proposition, right? But the problem is, this week we can just shift the bye. But at some point it goes, all right, what if we can't? You know what I mean? And what if, like, all right, we're going to give a team another bye week and then move it again? And, like, what if a team, like, goes to Monday night like the Chiefs are, and then, oh, wait, we have to play Thursday. How do you do that? You can't have a team play on Monday and then Thursday with 2 days of prep.
Yeah.
I mean, it gets sketchy real quick.
There is, so for Tampa for the Super Bowl, they have the hotel for an extra month. This year.
Do they really?
Yeah.
Just in case.
So I think they're keeping it just in case. So I think they have. I think they have a flex of like 4 extra weeks that they could play with.
Okay.
So I think
nice to know.
Yeah. So I think with that week 18, I think the problem honestly would end up turning into a situation where it would be like, okay, like say the Ravens are like 13-3, and then they add 2 extra weeks for all the COVID games, but then they're sitting out for 2 weeks,
and now you got to just wait. Yeah, right.
Because if you have a first round bye too, you're 3 weeks 4 weeks until you play your next game, which is a playoff game. Like these long sit outs could be what really like.
As Tigers fans know, it's related to baseball here. The last 2 times they went to the World Series, they sweep the Yankees, they sweep the A's, and then they sit and got to wait for the team to finish the 7th series, and then they come back and they're terrible.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so
that's a great point.
I think that could be an issue for like the really good that.
Worrying about the Lions having to sit out those 4 weeks, just in case they get that first round.
Yeah, and it could also this could also hurt like.
Yeah.
Well, it could hurt any team because if you have
for sure. Well, if you're the Lions and you play and you're 9-7 and you're technically the 7th seed or whatever, and then you still got to wait 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like that's a disaster. Exactly. That really is. I mean, that's something that I don't think people are thinking.
It gives that extra. It gives the better team too. A team like if you're playing Seattle and they get 3 weeks to prepare for you, like they're gonna have a lot of.
Or if there's injuries too, there's a lot of variables there. All right, Russell Wilson broke his thumb. In week 17.
He got 3 weeks.
He got 3 weeks to heal. I mean, he's not 100%, but he's playing, and you're like, oh crap.
Yeah.
So there's things that go along with that as well. It's something to really keep an eye on because we're able to kind of maneuver these chess pieces around right now, but there's a very high probability that we're going to see some games moved and stuff. I mean, the NFL is going to do what they can to absolutely not cancel anything. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's just, there's a lot of uncertainty here, right? I think New England, with Cam Newton of all people getting it, like, that is the horror scenario if you are a team, right? Is my best player is now out because of this thing. Mm-hmm. And you know what I mean? And you're just like, crap. So, like, if Stafford goes down, you're like, well, that's an L. I mean, quite frankly, I'm looking at L's already, let alone with them out there. So you're just going, crap. Drew Brees gets, sick, or Alvin Kamara, or Russell Wilson. You go, oh, great, I got to go throw out Geno Smith or whoever their backup is right now. It's like, this is a disaster. So we're gonna finally see what that does and the effect that it has, because it's like, is there a limit? Like, we're like, all right, there's only these 6 guys have it, and it's like, does that mean that the rest of the team is okay and that we can play? But it's like, if you're Tennessee, you're like, I don't want to play. That's 6 starters or 4 starters and 2 key backups or what have you. Like, this is a weird year. So it's one of those things to where you may see a couple teams kind of in the thick of it at the end who really have no reason being in the thick of it just because of other teams' misfortune, So it's going to be extremely, extremely interesting, to say the least. Real quick, I want to hit on the Lamar-Mahomes matchup here, just to kind of just a little cherry on top for the people. Because we were texting back and forth a little bit watching that game, and the Chiefs clearly outplayed Baltimore in pretty much every facet of the, I guess you could say, not special teams, because their kicker was terrible and they had a kick return for a touchdown for Baltimore. But, Mahomes looked phenomenal, right? That offense was humming. The Baltimore couldn't stop them, no matter what they did. Is that a sign? Because I've seen some overreactions, and we don't do overreactions here on this show. We put some thought into it usually. But, I've seen some people like, Lamar, it's not, Lamar can't do this, or Lamar can't throw, and blah, 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 and he's the league MVP, but he looks like this, and I love that people are like, yeah, disrespect Mahomes being the number 4 player, and I'm like, all right, calm it down. But at the same time, you look at it and go, you saw a lot of holes in this Baltimore offense where they couldn't get rolling, they couldn't run the ball effectively, Lamar looked terrible. I mean, is there that big of a difference, you think, between this Baltimore team and this Chiefs team, who we consider to be probably the 2 best teams in the league right now? At least on paper.
I don't think there's that big of a difference between the 2. Yeah. I think it will be more competitive if they do play again, say in the playoffs or whatever. But I unfortunately can't take credit for this because I've seen it like on multiple different sources. Yeah. But Lamar Jackson is the Giannis Antetokounmpo of NFL football.
Wow, look at that comparison.
It's like they're great regular season players. Wow. They ball out when they have a nice lead. They're like, if I could take any quarterback with a 10-point or 7-point lead and be like, you're my quarterback for this game, it would be Lamar Jackson, because he would just run all over you. Okay. But if I need you to come back from 10 points, Lamar's probably 12th on my list of people.
Wow, that is it. I'm not. I didn't see that comparison, but when you say it like that, that is a great comparison.
Because we just talked about basketball.
Right,
it's like Giannis. He's up
great regular season, MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, can't get out of the second round.
Yeah, exactly. So I think there's a strong comparison there, and I think like I said, I don't think there's a big difference other than like they need to start faster. If Baltimore were to score a touchdown on that first drive, I think it's a completely different game, because you kick a field goal, Chiefs score a touchdown, you get stopped, Chiefs score another touchdown, you're down 11, it's over. Because Lamar's not going to bring you back in because he doesn't throw
that is interesting for sure. Yeah,
that's his only game.
Yeah, that is, and he didn't look comfortable at all. No. I give some credit to Steve Spagnuolo's defense as well. We kind of told everybody, it was like, this defense is not very good, and they're not, but they played well. They played well on Monday night against a good Baltimore team. Do you think they're lacking, because Hollywood Brown is their quote-unquote number 1, right? Do you think they're lacking a more consistent, I want to say intermediate guy? Like, for me, like, Kenny Golladay is our number 1 receiver for Detroit, right? But he does a lot of things really, really well that maybe you can't replicate. Like, he's not the fastest, he's not the strongest, he's not this, but he does everything well. He can be a deep threat when you need him to be. He's a great intermediate, 12 to 15 kind of guy, right? I don't know. Baltimore, I feel like, doesn't have a guy that can get me a 3rd and 8. Like, you can get me a 1st and 10 and go 60 yards for a touchdown, because Willie Snead and him both kind of do the same thing. Yeah. But they don't have that, like, Michael Crabtree, Galladay, Sammy Watkins kind of guy where I need 3rd and 6 and you're going to get me 7. You know what I mean? And the wide receiver.
Yeah, not at the wide receiver. Mark Andrews can do it at tight end, but no one can do it at the wide receiver position. Right. And I think that's him and Lamar's really inability to, like, when you force him to throw it, he has to throw. He's not very great.
Yeah, it's like he's throwing a moonshot. I'm like, all right, there's a good chance he's probably going to catch up to that and catch it. But like the throws that I think separate Mahomes and him are those throws. It's the all right, I'm going to get 12 here on a rope. I'm going to get 12, right? Yeah. Compared to Everybody in the NFL can throw it deep. Let's be real. Outside of like Sam Bradford, you know what I mean? Like everybody can throw it deep with some sort of accuracy, but it's the stuff. That's what's the difference between an Aaron Rodgers, right? Where Aaron Rodgers can just put anything and you go, wow. Like you just no matter where it is on the field, it's a dot. It's just one of those things where I think it's something we saw that another hole in his game. Yeah. That's the difference between why maybe Mahomes has had more success against him is because of those kinds of throws.
That's all it is.
It's the post route for 12 rather than the post for 40.
Yeah.
It's interesting, to say the least. I just wanted to talk about that a little bit because you talk about two guys like that, Super Bowl MVP versus league MVP and blah, 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 and you just saw the one guy who is he's just humming on all cylinders, and this was his real first Mahomes game for me, was Monday night. I thought against the Chargers they had to come back, they didn't play very well. Houston's not very good, and they didn't play particularly efficiently on offense. This was the first game for me from Mahomes this year where I go, all right, that's the offense I'm expecting. I mean, everything they did was just on fire. So, interesting to say the least. We're going to keep an eye on it for sure. Next week, like you said, we're talking Lions for sure after their bye. We're either going to be 2-2 or 1-3. Let's hope that they're 2-2 because if not, I'm going to be really sad. But that's going to be it for this week's show. For the Missing Whale Man, he is the Merc Zone. I'm the Mouth of Michigan, and we will see you guys, as always, next time.